Hello class, you are welcome to another series on the public administration. Today, we are going to be doing a continuation of the topic we started on civil service. Now let's proceed. What do we expect to learn from today's class? 1. To discuss measures to ensure non-partisanship of the civil service. To examine the factors that can hinder the effectiveness of the civil service in Nigeria. To explain the continuity of the civil service. Thirdly, to explore the political neutrality of the civil service. And fourthly, to clearly define the control of the civil service. Now, let's start. The civil service is a department of the executive arm that takes care of the day-to-day activities of government. Civil servants are managed and paid by the government. They are the government workers, both at the state and federal levels. In fact, local government officials are also civil servants. The civil service is a perpetual agency of government. That is, its activities or programs, even its workers, are not affected by a change of leadership or transition in government. This, if the president in power leaves, the civil service continues. Also, the reason for the apparent non-partisanship of the civil service is why it is perpetual as an organization or as an agency, because it's expected to be without any political affiliation. They must not belong to any political party so that they can be fair in their dealings with any leader or any person in power. Now, measures to ensure the non-partisanship of civil servants. 1. Appointment. Appointment should be based strictly on examinations and interviews. That is, it should be based strictly on merit. Tenure of office. The tenure of office for civil servants should be guaranteed. If it is 25 years, if it is 30 years, it has to be stated in the appointment letter. The Public Service Commission. The commission should ensure rules related to transfers, promotions, and discipline of civil servants are strictly followed and they are not based on biases or nepotism. Now, patronage and sponsorship. Patronage and sponsorship for civil servants by politicians should be strictly made illegal. Adherence to civil service rules. Civil servants should also be aware of the general orders, rules, and codes of the civil service that forbids partisanship. Resignation. This is very important. If you know any civil servant that wants to contest any political office, the best thing for such person to do is to resign in advance. That is, those that want to engage in partisan politics must resign voluntarily in advance to avoid conflict of interest. Civic education. This is very important because it must be done periodically to enlighten civil servants on the need to be neutral and impartial when discharging their duties. That is, they have to be neutral and partial to any political party in power. Condition of service. The condition of service of all civil servants should be improved. Better remuneration, better motivation, and other things. Sanctions. Severe punishment and sanctions should be imposed on any civil servant found guilty of partisanship to serve as deterrent to others. Now, next slide. What are the factors that can hinder or militate against the effectiveness of the civil service? 1. Low incentives. That is, when there's poor condition of service and slow promotion policy, it demotivates workers. Many civil servants are often nonchalant to their work, saying government work is not worth giving their best. That's like lukewarm attitude on the part of civil servants. Many of them just feel it's government work, nobody's looking at me, let me just do what I need to do, I can't keep myself. Whereas efficiency, dedication, commitment, and passion is also required to get things done. Red tapeism. Red tapeism is synonymous to bureaucracy. So what does this mean? This is much emphasis on protocol, especially on issues that require urgent attention. This slows down decision making and attention. Civil service is a very rigid system. It requires that decisions are taken from top to bottom, and the charge of duties flows from one end to the other. So this might delay quick decision making on issues that require urgent attention. Political interference. Politicians often interfere with the planning and implementation of government policies. This is unavoidable especially in our civil service in Nigeria. Now, tribalism, nepotism, and favoritism. This is when people are employed or considered based on their tribe, ethnicity, and closeness to people in power, not based on merit or capabilities. I've said it before that when there is focus on tribalism, nepotism, and favoritism, we are not likely to get the best hand. And if we want to make this service to be effective, we have to, stay away from tribalism, nepotism, and favoritism. Bribery and corruption. That's another factor that can impede the effectiveness of the civil service. This bribery, kickbacks, brown envelopes, in all seeking undue gratification to get work done is one of the major challenges of our civil service in Nigeria. Another one is over-duplication of functions. There is too much duplication of effort in the civil service, resulting in redundancy, idleness, and low productivity. It is too many people doing almost the same thing, and this causes what? Repetition. Now, let's examine why the civil service is a perpetual organization. That is the continuity of the civil service. One of the essential features of the civil service is that it stands for the continuity of policy in government. That is, if the role is maintained, the civil service can therefore be called the corrective part of government, regardless of political party in power. Now, the political party in power is expected to also respect the independence of the civil service. Now, the role of the civil service is to present the national issues and their point of view before each minister that comes for consideration. This way, the civil service can maintain absolute political neutrality while ensuring the continuity of policy based on overall national interest. The minister, who happens to be the political head of a department or ministry, is expected to not enforce his whims and caprices, that is his personal decisions on the civil service. Is expected to also follow due process in the discharge of his duties and responsibilities. The civil service as a body or civil servant as a whole are also expected to also work in harmony with the political head of their ministry and ensure that they follow due process in discharge of their duties, because the civil service will continue for as long as possible and they are going to work with any political party in power. Hence, they are not supposed to be biased in discharge of their duties. Now, how to ensure political neutrality? 1. Members of service must maintain political neutrality. 2. Observe strict official secrecy and must be obedient to their official duty. That is, if they are not authorized to talk out there, they are not expected to talk. So they are supposed to keep what is secret. It is only the minister that is expected to talk. Political executives should have limited control over the civil service. This is the appointment of permanent officials should not be fully handled by the political executive to avoid party patronage, favoritism, and security of service. The minister is responsible for the success or failure of the service. That is, he or she must take full responsibility for the action of his subordinates. Non-participation in partisan politics. This is very important. Employment. Another one is merit. Employment and promotion in service should be based on merit. Neutrality. Especially should be a neutral body. Faithfulness and openness. They must do their job dutifully and legitimately and must resist illegal political demands and pressure from the minister and self-seeking politician. Now, the control of the civil service. We have the Civil Service Commission control. We are engaged in recruitment, promotion, and discipline. We have the Minister of Finance control. The position of the Minister of Finance in budgeting, planning, and payment of salaries gives it strategic leverage as a control agency. Parliamentary control. These are the lawmakers. Their control is in the form of supply of money to civil service and the power it has to accept or reject the appointment of top civil servants by the executives. Hierarchical structure and control. This has to do with the hierarchy of power and service that must be obeyed and respected by every civil servant. Legal judicial control. This is the machinery put in place to deal with administrative corruption as well as control to ensure impartial and efficient administration. Ombudsman. That's the Public Complaints Commission. It examines complaints and maladministration among civil servants. Now, the summary of it all is that civil service is expected to be a neutral body and it has to be impartial. It must not engage in partisan politics and must be fair to every political leader in power. So, I'm also going to move to the assignment. We have some assignments here for you, some questions for you to answer. Please ensure you take them and send your feedback or your your answers through the email that have been provided. Thank you and see you at the next class.